Excited to have him on the show today. He is with Briarwood Consulting Services. So, Grant, welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Clint. Yeah, no, happy to be here.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your consulting business and how. Just tell us a little bit about it.
So, so I started consulting about 3.5 years ago or so.
Okay.
And I was previously working in a lot of, working as a full-time employee at various places in digital marketing. And I kind of felt a little bit confined based on each of the roles, because as a full-time employee in a lot of locations, you're kind of limited to specifically what they hired you to do.
Right.
So I really like doing lots of different things. It's kind of my whole deal is to do lots of different things.
The good and bad of that?
The good and bad of that. Yeah, there's definitely some bad. I have a lot of stuff because of that, but we'll talk about that maybe a little bit later. So started consulting so that I could do things, depending on the business that I'm working with, I could do various aspects, whether it be digital marketing, website development, doing some data analysis stuff that's really fun sometimes, and all kinds of other things in that general umbrella of tech and marketing.
Okay, cool. So how did you get into that in the beginning?
So I went to school for, I started school as a studio artist. So I managed to get about, I think, 2 years through that, drawing and painting and that kind of stuff. And I realized that I was taking out private student loans to pay for all of that. And as a studio artist, you have to get really lucky in order to make any money from that. So I pivoted to graphic design, switched to a graphic design degree. And through that as well, I didn't really, there wasn't really a lot in digital at that point. So it was 2008 or 9 or so.
So that was a new thing that came out, was the digital application of graphic design? Or
for that university.
Okay.
With a lot of higher education, sometimes they operate a couple of years behind the working world. So there wasn't really a really great program.
Sure. Well, there's curriculum development and teacher expertise and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
The class where we first learned how to make websites, the teacher was following a printed out packet on how to build websites, and
cool.
I decided to maybe do some of my own research and learning. For that, I found a mentor to show me some things and started working in WordPress, kind of building WordPress sites and tearing them apart and putting them back together for various clients while I was in school. So I did some consulting and freelancing while I was in school.
So a little OJT, on the job training as well as
absolutely, and that allowed me to kind of graduate and go directly into the working world with a couple of years of experience specific skill set. So from that, it's just been a lot of learning that kind of stuff. Also in college, I would often the currency wasn't necessarily cash for teaching my classmates how to build websites. I would often get paid in cases of beer or various things like that. A very common college student current
Yes.
Bartering,
nobody has money, but somehow there's
system.
Lots of beer.
Yeah, somehow. Yeah, it's hard to say. So kind of got really interested in teaching at that point as well. So TA'd a couple classes and really enjoyed that. So outside of that, it's just been a lot of as I've been working, I've never stopped freelancing. I kind of continue to do a lot of work. Have continued to do a lot of work outside of the full-time employ that I've been in the last or since college. So which has helped me grow a lot of skill sets.
Sure. Makes you more well-rounded for that consulting business. So you happen to work partially for Usurance, and some of it for our parent company, GWG.
Correct.
So what is the So what is the most exciting thing that you get to do while you're doing your part of your consulting role, but with us?
So I've developed a bit of a reputation as a perfectionist. I'm not sure how this could have happened.
Striking.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
So just so everybody has a little bit of context, right before we started the podcast, Grant comes into the office down here and he starts straightening the lamps and the little packets of materials that we have for anybody that comes in.
That's not me.
He has no
Never
problem with being very detail oriented.
Yeah, That's a good way to say it. That's the positive way to write it in any kind of review.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Detail oriented, not obsessive.
Not obsessive compulsive.
No, not
There's
at
no
all.
disorder involved.
No, none. So the most comical thing that I've been asked to do here is definitely whenever we had scrum boards, like different boards, all the walls in the main office are all whiteboard.
Yeah,
so people like
cool.
to have. It's great. I love whiteboarding, and so I'm often asked to, if they're going to have some masking tape on the walls, they have me come in and get all of the tape perfect on these walls. So there's a number of different grids. There's one in the HR office and a couple of different ones by tech. And that's definitely like, we need another scrum board. We better get Grant to get those.
That's the first part of the project plan is to get Grant's time.
Get pretty excited about it.
Put the Kanban board together.
Yeah, so there's a lot of that I get excited about. Where these lights that are lighting us up, that was a really fun project, setting these up. I've done some video production work for GWG for welcoming new employees and some nice stuff for the CEO and I've done corporate photos and built websites and email marketing programs and all kinds of fun stuff.
So you've got your fingers in a lot.
Yes.
Which helps to tickle that I need to be diverse in
absolutely,
my skill set.
Yeah, so it's I really enjoy working for small businesses and startups, and GWG is definitely a great startup mentality of like, hey, we need something done. Let's just do it. Let's
everybody
not
get in.
Everybody get in.
Hashtag doing.
Yeah, hashtag doing for sure. So, so it's a really good atmosphere to continue to not only develop those skills, but just to exercise them and to utilize all the skills available.
Yeah, so you mentioned earlier that you started teaching. So tell us a little bit about teaching. So you've got all these skills.
Yeah.
So are you teaching others actively at this time? Or?
Absolutely, I am. So it's kind of a funny story. So if you think about normal places to get jobs, right, where you get like some kind of gig or something like that.
There's a building and there's
usually a building,
application.
But maybe you like check out Indeed. Or you check out like a Glassdoor or some other kind of Monster. So I was perusing Nextdoor Linden Hills, which is Nextdoor is the social media platform where you kind of like
for neighborhoods
and stuff, right? So no one really uses it. Like there's some people who use it, but like not very effectively.
Not the way it's probably meant to.
There's some really good
pick up your poo. Your dog's in my yard.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. It's really entertaining for some not really aware of how to use social media, use of social media. There's some good Twitter accounts that kind of talk about that. But on Nextdoor, someone posted looking for an instructor for graphic design, and it was the Normandale Community College Continuing Education Program. So I showed up, emailed them, showed up, and kind of walked out with the job. So been doing that for 2 years now, and it's been really fun. I really enjoy it. So I teach a certificate in web and graphic design. So it's 11 classes total, and they're 7.5 hours long, 1 day per subject. So I'll have a whole day on.
Each day is 7.5 hours long.
Each day is 7.5 hours long. So I'm not in the office on Wednesdays, and I'm off. Originally people were thinking, oh, he's got Wednesdays off. Wow, it's probably nice for him to relax those days. But it's a hard day because I'm teaching from 9 a.m. to 4:30, and it's really good. So like one day we'll talk about Photoshop, one day we'll talk about user experience and accessibility, and it's really nice for the students there because I do work in a corporate atmosphere. I have worked in multiple different corporate atmospheres in different industries, and like half of what I'm teaching is how to apply these things in a corporate atmosphere. It's not just using Photoshop. Yeah. It's like, how do you use Photoshop and like not anger your coworkers? There's a lot of things
or your manager, anybody,
any of those things. So so there's a lot of perspective I like to kind of throw in with that and teach some of those things.
That's cool. So the most interesting thing about education that you've learned? I think we hinted at it earlier when we were talking.
Interesting thing about education. So
the U of M, maybe.
Oh yeah, the U of M thing. Oh yeah, okay. So I
no
really,
coaching at all.
No coaching, no. So I really one of the coolest programs I learned about a little while ago. It's actually my father takes advantage of this for some courses at the University of Minnesota. But once you reach the age of 62, you only have to pay $10 per credit at I think it's all state colleges and universities for Minnesota. $10 per credit.
And then books and all that other stuff.
Yeah,
but
you still have to pay
$10 per credit.
Yeah, lab fees and materials and stuff you still need to pay for. But if you are interested in, I really feel pretty strongly about education in general, just how it's really something I'm passionate about. I love learning new things. I just get really psyched about it. I love like starting off on something, being kind of terrible at it, and then seeing the progress of like, okay, I've developed a skill set. I've learned this new thing. So I always want to encourage as much as I can for anyone to learn as much as they can. Go and learn new things all the time. And this program through the University of Minnesota is really great. It's a state statute. It's got some acronym I can grab later. But some acronym, but you can check it out if you look up 62 and older, $10 per credit. You'll find it on Google. But awesome. Encourage, if you are in that age bracket, like absolutely go learn that stuff. I was kind of comparing that with Minnesota's average life expectancy is 81 years old. So let's say you want to go back and get your bachelor's degree you always wanted. You can kind of subtract. You still have on average like another 15 years, almost 20 years to use that bachelor's degree or get a master's or a PhD, whatever you want to do. Yeah.
Or just do something that you've always wanted to do.
Absolutely.
Get really first class education on this thing. So
totally.
That's really cool. Really cool. All right, good. So teaching, kind of continuing to learn. What are some of the hobbies that you like to do?
So I have a very patient wife. My wife is very patient about all of the different hobbies that I like to collect. So I kind of mentioned earlier about the kind of wanting to learn new things, and the one that I've been into most recently has been sewing, industrial sewing type things. So I kind of started off doing some leatherworking a couple of years ago and built a couple different things. Like I built my wallet here. I made this a couple of years ago, and it's pretty rough. It's not well made, but it's functional, and I've used it for a while. And but I've
still have it.
I still have it. It hasn't fallen apart.
It's not broken,
right? So it's still good for a while.
Is that a function of the build or the actual material?
Probably a little more so on the material side, I think. So I kind of picked up some more sewing stuff recently, and it's really good because it's, in order to sew something, I'm making bags and backpacks and things. And if you're sewing something, you need to have the whole thing figured out before you even start.
Right.
And it's really this mental gymnastics of picturing what you want to create, like the bag that you want to make, inside out and then spread out flat. And you need to make sure to get all of the pockets in place and all the different accessories in place at the time. So it's great. I just love it. I'm really bad at it. I'm progressively getting a little bit better here and there. But
I've seen some recent work that's pretty good.
I'll pull it up.
You want to show that?
So I just finished this bag this weekend. So
new different strap you're gonna put on there.
I gotta do this. I'm gonna wax it yet and stuff. But
look, that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, it's
see
good.
The bottom of that.
Yeah, so it's got a nice leather bottom and stuff, and this is destined for a friend of mine. I'm testing it out this week. I'm seeing what I hate about it, so that when I give it to him, I can remember the things I want to change for the next person's bag, and he can deal with the problems. But he's getting a bag out of it. So
that's awesome. It's super cool. Nice work. That's awesome. What other hobbies? So you've got some sewing. I know there's a few other ones in there.
Yeah, there's sewing. Oh God.
Is there something with metal? Can you do something with metal?
I figured out some welding a while ago. I've been playing with welding. I have a wood shop that I use occasionally. Once I'm done sewing, I'll maybe go back to the wood shop for a little while. Yeah. And I kind of go through cycles of being really bad at stuff and trying to figure out other things that I can be bad at.
See, woodworking has always been one that I would really enjoy that. Number one, the smell is delightful. Yeah. I love the smell of fresh cut wood or even burnt wood, if you're doing some sort of printing or stenciling or something. Really, really good.
It's great.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, it's plus there's the aesthetic, right? There's the aesthetic of being a man doing woodworking. It just it feels natural in some way, but yeah, so there's the appeal to that, and that's I think part of the definitely the leatherworking side is like,
Sure.
oh, it's kind of a cool aesthetic.
Yeah.
Like when I've seen pictures of like people doing leatherworking or woodworking, it's like, oh, that looks really cool. Like Nick Offerman is the guy from Parks and Rec who he's the big bearded fellow who always says like, yeah, I'm gonna eat 100 pounds of bacon and that kind of stuff. And he's actually he started out in show business doing set design. So he actually has a like really successful woodworking business. So he has some
cool.
really good instructional videos on Live Edge. Like planing and stuff.
Okay.
So he does a lot of cool live edge work. And
all right. So if someone was going to build a wood shop, what would be the first tool?
Drill press.
A drill press.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. I think based on the kind of stuff that I like to build, drill presses are really neat because you can kind of make them do stuff they're not really intended to, and they're not really all that dangerous. They can be, but I think like drill press, bandsaw, and then I use a lot of hand tools and stuff too.
Sure.
So I think
that kind of stuff. But the big stuff, drill press, bandsaw.
Yeah, I have this wonderful device called a shopsmith. It's kind of this like kind of weird like I think they maybe started in the 80s or 70s or something like that, or even earlier than that. But they're this really ugly green, really terrible thing, and but it's this one big motor that has a lot of different attachments and stuff. So it's kind of a nice tool for if you don't have a lot of space. But shopsmith. They're fairly well made, and like my bandsaw is just an addition to that piece. And it's also got a lathe.
Tell us a little bit about that process and how you kind of set yourself up for success with that stuff, either through goal setting or that kind of stuff.
So I think it's really important for anything anyone kind of decides to start doing, to make sure that they're not just doing it without any kind of end goal in mind.
Okay.
Goal for me for my bag creation is I want to be able to design and create a bag that could sell for at least $200. That's my whole goal, is I want to make a bag that can be a $200 bag. And I've kind of been pursuing that and like looking at the way that I price out materials and price out hardware and looking at the bags that sell for that much and like what kind of construction they have and what features they have. And I've been kind of building up towards that. So I think for any kind of hobby that I'm doing, I really like to look at, okay, so first of all, I really like making businesses out of things. Like I'll try and convert all my hobbies into businesses at some point.
Because you should, because otherwise you do something that you hate.
Yeah, they do something you hate.
Do something when you love, and
and then you can validate spending more money on your hobby if you can. Like, I know this is a $200 thing, but I just made $25, so obviously it's
clearly a business.
Yeah, so clearly
scalable
a business
and everything.
Right. So looking at the bags, in that sense has been really helpful. But for everything else as well, with anytime like working with like digital photography, like I want to be able to successfully like shoot a wedding or like do corporate headshots and get paid for them consistently. And for any of the educational pieces, that's really important to kind of know what you're after and have some kind of goal in mind for it, and not just because otherwise you just flounder.
Sure. Now, what do you do about some of these? You said as you get better, you're okay with failing and being really bad at something.
Yeah.
So what is the goal setting process for if it's a longer term success thing? So like I'm assuming that you've got, yes, you want to make a $200 bag.
Yeah.
What are the different things that you have done in between there to set yourself up for, okay, I've reached this benchmark much closer to my $200 bag?
I'm kind of just shooting directly for it, but I think there's probably like 4 or 5 bags that will never be finished. There's just garbage. Like I got I mentioned before about that you have to have everything planned out ahead of time. Like I didn't know that when I started. I was like, I'll just, it's kind of like woodwork. If I could just glue something to it, or I could, woodworking, you just screw in a piece of wood if you forget it.
Yeah, just put a piece of Velcro over it.
Right.
Fine.
But you kind of have to like plan everything out, and I didn't realize that at first. So there's a lot of just trash bags at my house, and a lot of used up thread and.
You realize those are the ones that sell for $1,000.
Yeah, once I'm like really famous for making bags, I'll make sure to keep them in.
You'll release the limited edition.
Yeah, like wow, this just is terrible.
Series 1A.
It's terrible, but so fashionable. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, good. Well, so another thing that you have told me that you like to do, and probably has a lot of relation to goal setting and trying new things, cooking.
Yeah.
So tell me about cooking and how you use cooking to, help you and your wife be healthy.
Yeah, sure. So I didn't really cook growing up at all. I really avoided it. My mother cooked a lot, so I was really lucky and didn't realize it like most every adolescent. Wow, my parents are just cooking for me. It's a big deal.
But that's why you complain about it.
Yeah, right.
You don't like it.
Yeah, no, I have a different perspective now. So in college, and it kind of started with that, just with college and just after college, just mostly just being broke, right? So cooking becomes really a lot cheaper if you just buy base materials. If you just buy the flour and the eggs and the all the different raw vegetables and things, as opposed to trying to buy somewhat processed, ready to cook, ready to eat kind of stuff.
Right, something out of a box.
So so because of that, I learned how to do quite a bit of cooking, and everything's kind of from scratch. So I really like to make naan bread is really fun to make. I haven't done that in a little while, but baking breads is really fun. But
what's the secret to naan bread?
Secret to naan bread is it's not how high you can flip it, although that does help.
That's just for the entertainment.
Yeah, so it's yogurt based. So instead of using a water for the flour, you use yogurt and milk and stuff, and it's really good because naan bread has some really nice protein content because it's got all the yogurt and things, and but you have to get it really you have to knead it a lot and use a really hot skillet.
Okay. And is there salt in it?
Yeah, there's a little bit of salt.
A little bit of salt?
Yeah.
So what's the flavor? Is it just kind of a...
Garlic.
What's garlic?
Yeah, garlic. Okay. Love the garlic. Yeah, my favorite thing with garlic is occasionally you can get it at Costco, just a big bag of already peeled garlic, and that's my favorite because I'll just throw handfuls of garlic into whatever I'm cooking, and that's it's fairly good for you, right? It's good for your heart and stuff. I read somewhere. I think I've been working
the
off
research is solid.
Yeah, I've been working off that assumption for a long time. I don't really want to break that spree. I've been using a lot of garlic.
Well, between you and one of our other coworkers who's always about ginger.
Yeah.
Between the two, you guys are.
Oh, ginger's really good too.
We're gonna figure out which one of you lives longer.
Yeah. So I have 2 years ago now for my birthday I received a 22-inch wok. So I do a lot of cooking with that. So I like to make fried rice for events and that kind of thing as well.
Yeah,
it's kind of fun.
That's cool. What's the so let's go through your 3 or 4 course meal, the favorites of each. So let's start with a soup. What's your favorite soup?
Favorite soup
or soup-like thing.
We're gonna go soup-like thing because I really like to make a curry.
Okay.
So I really like to get you can get these off of Amazon. I can't read the packages at all, and this is maybe a little bit far from the really base ingredients, everything from scratch. But you can get a really good curry paste, and I like to get those because they usually have some dried shrimps in them. So it's a red curry, red Thai curry, and you can use that as a base. And you just cook chicken thighs and legs forever. You just cook them for a good portion of the day and really kind of simmer them down to get the marrow out of the bones.
At a low temperature.
Low temperature, it's kind of like you're cooking a stock. And we usually make a huge batch of that. I have a stock pot as well that's it's enormous stock pot.
Nice.
And we'll freeze meals from that.
So is that the whole meal? That's a soup-based meal of the curry chicken or whatever
that's
is?
Curry chicken. You throw in potatoes and carrots and peas and,
so you add things.
Whatever other vegetables.
So you pre-make the base and then you throw that in there, or you put it all in there?
I put it all in there. So you do the base, but then I maybe didn't cover the details of adding everything else because it's one of those meals that's really good if you're man, I got a lot of stuff in this fridge. Really should. In this freezer, man, this freezer and this fridge are really full. We should probably make a curry and let's make some curry and
toss it in there.
Toss it all in there because it's really really
sure.
Really good flavors and stuff like that, and it kind of anything works pretty well in there. So,
okay. All right. So what's the salad?
Salad is I don't really make salads all that much.
No salads?
No, I guess okay. So this is maybe on the edge of a salad. So I really like to do a steamed kale. So you do you saute garlic and onions and a
garlic
garlic for sure. Yeah, in a pan, and then you throw in a bunch of shredded-ish kind of chunks of kale, and it kind of wilts it a little bit, and then that with black beans and sweet potatoes is really good.
Okay.
But that's kind of pushing it on the definition of a salad.
No, that's but yeah, you're close.
You know, close. The next day after you take it out of the fridge, that's a salad. Right. It's nice and cold.
It's nice and cold. All right, very good. Entree.
I got into making meat pies for a while.
Delicious.
Like really kind of like into making meat pies. So I was doing making the dough, the from scratch dough with lard, which maybe, you know, isn't the most healthy ingredient to use, but it was from scratch, so it's maybe not as bad. But using lard to make the dough, and then you kind of fill it with like a beef stew kind of thing. So that's really good. But you can we did like chicken pot pies as well, and with the same shells.
Nice.
Yeah, it's
nice.
good.
All right, good. What about dessert?
I'm kind of crap at making desserts.
Yeah?
Like I don't use sweets all that much.
So you don't do a lot of desserts?
I don't really. Not too often. Most of the time when I'm thinking like, do I want another like 3-4 bites of the entree, or do I want sweets after? I'm usually like, yeah, let's have some more potatoes, some more steak.
Interesting.
And go with that.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
That's not common.
Yeah. No. I
don't think so.
A nice sweetened espresso drink, though.
So really an after-dinner drink.
After dinner
would be a good way.
Yeah,
for
after dinner coffee. Yeah,
okay.
That's good.
All right, good.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
About 8 p.m. Get a nice strong coffee.
Nice strong coffee right before you go to work in your shop.
Yep, right.
Or go to bed.
Yeah, never enough time.
Awesome, good. Well, Grant, if people wanted to learn more about you or to contact you through whatever way that you want them to contact you, how would they do that?
So you could contact me on Twitter. My handle is @GJChandler. And I also have, you can check out my business's website, briarwoodconsultingservices.com.
All spelled out?
All spelled out, BRIARWOD, and then the rest of it you can probably figure out.
Consulting services. Okay.
Yeah. briarwoodconsultingservices.com, yeah.
Got it. Cool. Well, thanks for coming on the show today. It was really great talking with you. Once again, for all of you out there, follow us on our social media. You can go to usurance.com/podcast to see other podcasts that we've done in the past. All of our social media is Usurance except for our Twitter, and that is @HelloUsurance. So until tomorrow, we'll see you guys then.
Thanks.